All right, we got team one together with Dermo on the standby. On that team, once we got Lexus, Tagsy in the back. It looks like, we? I don't even know how to say your name. OI. It's going to be first with Heal God on the standby. And don't call him we. Kiosko making a return as a survival hunter. Got himself that Necrolord barrier already surround him. I don't even know what to call you. I'll call you OE. Is that okay? OE? OE? Oi. It's Oi. Okay. Oi. That actually doesn't work. Hey, because if I say something like Oi, what's going on? It sounds like I'm having a problem with something. Gonna be Kiosko. Try to see if you may be able to bail away from Oi. As the Demon Hunter trying to keep the pressure rolling, got himself the meta press available, playing that 2-minute meta by the looks of it. So his meta should be fairly short. Although he's standing there for quite a while. Unless it's someone else. Wait, is your meta 2-minute meta? I guess it is. Because it does take 2 cooldowns 2 minutes over in the bottom left. But it felt like he lasted in there for a while. I guess you do have the tier set that does grant you a little bit longer of a duration, so that probably helps out a ton. Gonna be a stone to Kiosko. I try to see if he can just absolutely slice right through him, going for the most amount of mobility and slices as a fresh cut comes out, and Kiosko just trying to see if he can back out. That's gonna be a demon spawning in, so if there's a freezing trap around the corner by Kiosko, the demon should be able to break you out. I try to see if he can maintain the pressure versus Kiosko, as the man is just looking to keep the dots rolling versus the Demon Hunter. Gonna be will look like almost, I don't think it was a trinket, but it might have been a pet sack for Kiosko. Is the pet going down? Actually, no, your pet's still alive. I thought your pet was dead for a second, but Kiosko could potentially finally go for Freezer Trap. No more demon around the corner. Looks like he set something up for Oi, but unable to really get it. Wait, Freezer Trap does actually apply. Kiosko is able to break away, does get himself a faint death, but not in a combat just yet. Not able to go for a proper camo, but it's going to be a flash gift at the very least. Still played it very, very defensively as the Demon Hunter just continuing the pressure, continuing the onslaught. Kiosko finally gets an opportunity to nip him with a stump for a second. Death shock him, huge burst. Kiosko trying to see if that may be enough. Gonna be a full defenses out for Oi. Got himself dodge capability, but Kiosko does end up getting the proc though. It does get, I think, what it will look like a kill shot through the blurred dodge, through the damage reduction. Got himself a fatty crit and took him out. My goodness, got himself camo. Heal God immediately picking up the eyes, trying to get aggressive with Kiosko, trying to deny him any kind of capability to recover. Is Heal God playing the Shadow Crash, by the way? Does anybody know? I want to know if that ability actually does like decent damage, because 25% buff, I imagine it should be pretty good inside of all your cooldowns. I imagine it should hit for a decent amount. Flash cut for Kiosko. Looking for a full recovery as we hit in the 8-minute mark, 20% dampener. Heal God X still looking pretty healthy, and most likely by this point should have a couple of defenses going back in little by little. Is going to go for a Greater Fate, trying to see if he can use that Greater in order to create some line of sight behind the pillar. Going to be quick control by Kiosko on that Shadow. Does deny a little bit of that survivability for Heal God with the silence to follow, as it's going to be the Chimeric Poison stun into Heal God X. I believe that maybe, is that a Megalomania or is that proper Void Eruption? It's very difficult to tell. But it's going to be dispersed on Heal God, stun to Kiosko, may have a human racial, freeze trap waiting for to Heal God. That's going to be immediate triggered by the Shadow Priest. Got himself a little bit of CC on the pet. Kiosko catch himself, I think, what looks like a feint death with a turtle. Does get himself a proper camo. The pet does get dotted, does deny Kiosko any camo healing. It is going to burn an acceleration for it though. So for Heal God, that actually may be a perfect opportunity. Got a Mind Flay onto that pet. May potentially be enough in order to at least get the pet dotted and rotted. And then keep pressuring to Kiosko, at least denying that camo, denying the freebie heal for the Hunter. Force him to use that combat heal of Acceleration. Heal God find himself very, very low on health. Greater Fate for a second. May need to rotate Vampiric Embrace as he gets some dots onto Kiosko as well as the pet. Limited on what he could really do. Trying not to get interrupted. Stun to Kiosko, but that shotgun just explodes him. That is super unfortunate. He just had a situation where he just couldn't get a single cast off. That is incredibly unfortunate, boys. Oh my goodness. And Tagsy gonna be up next. Freezing trap, rotting him down for a second, or rooting him down for a second. Kiosko, try to see if you may be able to deal with these dots. Gonna be the Incubus joining in. Kiosko normally has a much easier time against the dots, but with that Feint Death legendary nerf that happened shortly before Season 4, I think that does make Hunters a little bit squishier to damage over time. Try to see if he catches him with a camera, but the pet is dotted. Unless he's able to get himself a proper Feint Death again, he may be in a bit of a tight spot. That Incubus, try to see if he can slow him down. Tagsy eating all these freezing traps, even though I'm sure he's hoping that his pet, his Incubus, would be the one eating all the traps. But Kiosko trying to be extra careful with his placement. Mortal interference to Kioska. Perfect opportunity for Taxi to get some dots. Going to be stunned to Kioska. Unless Kioska gets himself a feigned death right now, Taxi could actually be in a great position. Does get hit with a freeze. Kioska looking to get himself recovery. Does establish a quick feigned death. Unless Taxi sent in the Incubus. I don't think there's any way to really stop it. Is Incubus still around? It is. I think Taxi just pulling it back. It's going to be Chimeric onto the Warlock. Locked out for a second. Weakened from his damage that he can do. The healing that he can get to himself for a short amount of time. Kioska just continued to keep it running though. I actually am surprised. I think we haven't seen Survival Hunters in this just for quite a bit now. And Kioska just bringing it back, man. He showed us the explosive potential of a Survival Hunter. Just doesn't wait until the Death Tracker bursts. It's going to be a Mortal Call as the Death Tracker connects. Kioska potentially can maybe make a play here. That is a pretty big physical damage increase onto Taxi. Trying to potentially interrupt him. It's going to be a big drain onto Kioska with all these dots ramped up. That's going to be Taxi porting next to Kioska, looking to drain him dry. Quick medic manage, but I think the dots are just going to do it, man. It took a little bit of time, but Kioska lasted for at least 12 minutes in those duels. 40% dampener. And Taxi did have to just use all the ability to catch the hunter out of position, rot him down, drain him with them dots very, very quickly, burst him down. Did have to commit quite a lot of cooldowns. Not all ECDs, but that drain was perfect. It was a lot of damage. Huge Buttman gonna be up next. Got himself that Necrolord Elish Shaman gameplay going. Potentially playing the Ascendance Legendary, I imagine. Did you already burn? Oh yeah, I guess if you did burn Fire Elemental because it is right next to you. Gonna be a quick interrupt by Taxi. Trying to get super aggressive. Looks like Taxi no longer has a pet. Just ends up sacrificing the pet in order to make sure he has an interrupt available. Buttman going for a lasso. And Taxi trying to see if he can get some dots onto that pet. Drain life to follow as the meteor comes crashing down. Buttman has himself a massive burst combo. Does he get himself the big go though? Needs a Sky Fury. He has himself lightning in his hands. Needs to send it as soon as possible. It's going to be quite a lot of damage. Trying to see if maybe we can get something lightened up versus Taxi. Lightning bolts flying. That's doing quite a bit of damage, but the drain life letting him recover quite a lot of health. And Taxi trying to get aggressive, trying to keep the dot pressure rolling versus Huge. If he can get himself a UA versus Huge, he'll be in a fantastic spot. Going to be Huge. I think dropping down. Was that a Tremor? Did it try dropping down Tremor? Or was that a Trinket? I think it was a Tremor. I think it tremored that fear. I think he's just trying to deny any kind of dot pressure, any kind of UA by Taxi, because if he gets any UAs on him, he may be in a position where he could be rotting down. Taxi going for a Mortal Call into a fear, finally able to establish all the dots. Full Dark Soul Hysteria is going to go for the Dark Lair. Full dots are running down. Huge needs to find a way to remove some of this damage over time abilities. Definitely needs to cleanse himself off that agony. Trying to see if he can fight through the damage over time with healing surges, but he may not be enough. Locked out onto nature. Does he have a flush cap? That's the only thing that's going to keep him alive. Is it going to be enough though? Does delay his inevitable demise, but he may just be done and done. Double zaps on the Taxi. The man is stalwart in the dark pack, barely taking damage. Is gonna go for a quick drain. Sucking out my man dry with Soul Lunar. Gotta be up next. Try to see if they may be able to play also Affliction, playing a little bit of a different build of Affliction though. They are playing into a Death Bolt, so potentially could be even burstier than Taxi if they can get all their dots and everything. But it's going to be Taxi establishing the dots on the Soul Looter really early. It's going to be as much of an even match as possible. Soul trying to maybe get himself line of sight. Mortal exchanged by the both of them. And both Warlocks are going for immediately doing he's in the same strats as the other. That was actually like mirror play, Mortal into UA, but Taxi stopped himself to try to get an interrupt versus Soul. Soul should be able to have an interrupt of his own, so actually Taxi could be in trouble. That's going to be Taxi summoning a fresh pet in order to get that double interrupt versus Soul. Soul got some dots on the Taxi. It's going to go for the full Dark Leg. Going to be Taxi getting the full set of dots. Soul Rod getting set up by Soul. Soul Rod set up by Soul. That's going to be kind of annoying to say over and over. I feel like it's going to be confusing. Drain Soul onto that pet. That's going to be Taxi sacrificing any targets for Soul. He just started the drain and he couldn't complete it. Going to be Taxi backing up away out from that stun. The Shatter Crash and Soul Looter. Not really looking all that healthy. Definitely needs to go for as much food, as much survivability here. It's going to go for that Mage Food from Samaton, provided by the boy. Taxi trying to see if he can maybe crash the stun around the corner. Going to be a Mortal Call set up with the Soul early on. Definitely needs to get a Mortal Call versus Taxi if they want to have survivability. Needs to get aggressive at some point. Try to get a UA onto Taxi. He's successfully able to do so. Actually, something got interrupted. It wasn't the shadow damage. Actually, the Taxi's run down to the shadow damage. Trying to see if he can take down Soul. Does end up going for Malefic Rapture spam to take him down. It took him a little bit to get a setup. That Death Bolt did attack him and did end up rampaging right through him. Taxi's still dotted up. He just can't really do much in terms of survivability, unless he ends up going up against Sematon or Jesus. Potentially, if he can get a CC on one of them and go for a big drain setup, he may be in a good spot, but right now this man is a little bit behind on health. Taxi able to get dots immediately versus Sandwich up, but that's going to be Fire Blast on the Chicken immediately. Taxi got himself the Dark Pack, trying to see if he can push up versus Sammy. But Sammy is looking just to give himself a bit of a reset. Big old drain available for Taxi. Full combustion is up. Trying to see if he can just drain through the combustion. Interrupt available for Sammy. Finally is able to lock down Taxi on Shadow. Taxi potentially could go for CC back-to-back chains versus Sammy is going to go for a fear. Unless Sammy goes for a big defensive. I think actually may have to ice block this one. Trying to go for a blink, does not have the shield blink. And that's going to be all his dots burnt through very, very quickly. Oh my god, his shields did not last long at all. Got himself that soul shape, but I think that Drain Life may just do him in. That could become cauterized. And potentially even ice block. He's still just dotted. He's still rotted. The man actually has to go and freeze his health. Freeze his damage. He's got to freeze his bank account. It's going to drain. Oh my goodness. Quick breath by Sam, just looking to get away from the Warlock as fast as possible. Taxi keeping the dots rolling. Any Pyro Blasts are actually going to be kind of deadly. That's going to be all the time available for Sam. Might be able to use it defensively. Soul Rod up for Taxi. Got himself the full damage available. Maybe he can go for a big drain. Needs to make sure he doesn't get interrupted. It's going to be a Resonator. Trying not to get interrupted, but is trying to get himself a little bit of survivability, a little bit of healing. Sam, I think, just rots down to the dots. There's nothing he can do. Got himself a small shield with an over Taxi, but the dots are just going to do him in. He's on the seed pod. Wait, Taxi may... Oh, whoa. I think that just realized. I think he just realized what happened. He did not mean to chain of ice him. I think he just realized that it was a seed pod. Unfortunate. He realized his mistake. He stopped immediately. Unless it was a chain of ice to stop Taxi, which I don't think it was, but who knows. And Taxi decides to, hey, I'm just gonna forfeit, letting the rogues get a chance to play. Okay. Stun onto the pet. Sap of Jesus does go for a trinket off of the sap. Trying to see if he can maybe get a stun versus Derma. Does he have enough damage is my question. Immediate get a shot on Jesus. Does go for Resonator. It's going to be a trinket for the Remorseless Winter. Does get re-frozen back up stun again. Does he have enough damage with that Eviscerate? That's going to be just barely alive, blind on by Dermo. I don't think there's a way this Death Head recovers. I think he just tried to struggle in a rogue's world and we're just living in it. Dermo literally could take him out in a single Shadow Strike. I think it's just over. I don't think there's any way he recovers. It doesn't even go for Shadow Strike. I think this is a full-blown Eviscerate. Tags him with the 4 kills, though. It was a long duel by Kiosko. He did his very, very best, boys. Kiosko tried to hold the fort for his team as best as he could. But Tagsy was able to eventually rod down the enemy team. Let's get you guys back.